Hey, on this episode of The Ethics Experts, we talked to Shin Jae Kim, and she is really a pioneer in our entire industry. She has a bunch of awesome stories on how compliance got started, on how she helped to, like I said, be a pioneer of the compliance industry in Brazil. Wealth of knowledge, ton of great stories. Hope you enjoy it. Let's learn.
Welcome to The Ethics Experts, where we're elevating ethics and compliance and HR to the strategic level it's supposed to be.
Hey everybody, welcome to The Ethics Experts. If it's your first time joining us, welcome. And if you are a returning subscriber, hey bestie, you look amazing today. You see what happens when you subscribe to The Ethics Experts. You get a bonus greeting on every single episode. So hit that subscribe button and join us as we change the world. I am here with the one and only Shin Jae Kim. She's a partner at TozziniFreire. She's head of compliance and investigations, thought leader, a lot of great experience, a lot of great stories. So really excited to have you on here, Shin. How's it going?
Thank you. Thank you so much for, invite me here. This is a great opportunity to share a little bit of my background and experience. Thank you.
And you're on vacation, you're at the beach, and yet you made time for the ethics experts. So I feel really special.
I could have put my screen in the backwards. Beautiful surrounding, and waves and noise. Very nice. Yeah. Very nice weather too.
So I feel like I'm on vacation right now as well.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit, Shin, about your journey into the compliance game. You've been a partner for a long time. You used to be an M&A, and now you're over compliance and investigations. What was that path like for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think that I was telling you that it's very seldom that we talk about ourselves, right? And recently I was invited to talk about the leadership, women leadership. And then it's kind of walk through how we became the number one compliance team worldwide. So there is this ranking done by most respected publication called Chambers Partners. And then we are number one in Latin America and global.
Wow.
In terms of compliance practice. Today we have 5 partners that they are 100% dedicated to compliance matter, which is kind of rare, It's like you have a law firm with 5 partners with 20 plus associate, only focus on compliance matter. And then since compliance is a multidisciplinary area, we work with the white collar, labor, regulatory teams. So you do have this tax and labor, tax labor, they said already, antitrust, that is already very common. And whenever you have a compliance, you have also antitrust matter that could go align in a matter, subject matter. So we have this is a full service firm. So you have this 5 led by 5 partners, 100% dedicated compliance with this 20 plus associate working in different area of the firm that has 30 plus teams that either differentiated by the sector, by the subject matter. So it's quite intense, let's say. And then you may ask, but how all this happened, That was really the question. So quite often people said, oh, we are the pioneer, Shin is pioneering in compliance matter in Brazil. And then the reason is, go back, I think that was early 2000, we had Rolling Stone show in Rio de Janeiro. And then you stop that. I'm going to get back to that show. That was very remarkable show of Mick Jagger's show in Rio. So I've been lawyer for many, many years, more than 30 years. But in the beginning, because was doing 90s and Brazil had just opened up for the foreign investors. So we had many foreign investors coming into Brazil and making all sort of investment, mainly on infrastructure investment. And at some point of time, you'd have this different nationalities coming to Brazil to invest, from the US, from Europe, from Asia, all over the places coming in. And then some of them would not go well, right? And then I remember very clearly one of this investment that was from the US, and that was not their core business. So it was a kind of those saving fund, and they start investing that they believed it was very attractive to have an investment in Brazil. And they made around $300 million investment. This was a long time ago. And they were involved in the corruption situation. They had allegation of corruption in the company. So this general counsel came to me. He said, Shin, we have already our own counsel that been assisting us for many, many years, but would you like to also have your opinion, from your firm? Because we have a very unique situation where my lawyer is saying that we don't need to worry about it, the situation, because it's not anything against the law. That is more reputational risk. This was, it's 20 plus years ago. Okay, so you have to try to see this with the eyes of that time. And then when this client started telling me the story, I could understand his frustration and also his anxiety, that he had this goal to solve the situation, but he didn't know because the lawyer that was trusted advisor was telling him that he should not worry about it, but he was worried about it. So, and then I said, well, I got you, I understand you. So it seems very complex situation where the situation basically was they had a goal to set up a new business in Brazil. And this person that was in charge, he was not nearly technical guy. He was a guy that studied, let's say, language so that he could speak Spanish, but in Brazil we speak Portuguese, right? So to say that this guy came without any knowledge of business and he was in charge to do so. And he had another goal, which was you have to start operating until a certain date, had a deadline. Sure. So all the pressure on him. So he started going after people that he could help him. And obviously, he ended up meeting people that could facilitate communication in order to get some license. That in Brazil, there was no regulation on such license. So he had to go all this, I would say, public relationship lobby that in Brazil is not permissible at that time, and still not, but we are trying to work on the more transparency rule regarding lobbying, but that time was not at all. So he went after some very hot guy who could navigate and facilitate in order to get those license, right? And making payment, etc. So what happened was he made a dossier. He wrote everything that what was his motivation towards hiring, this consultant, let's say, and he put down everything. He sent to the lawyer in Brazil, and the lawyer saw that. He said, "Wow, there's nothing relevant here. There's everything like there's no proof, no evidence. So company, you don't need to worry about." Right? That was the situation. So I see all the evidence, the letter, etc., and then we'll go to say, your lawyer is right. There's no evidence. He believed that this could be completely a scam. Somebody told him that he could get certain things, but in fact, he didn't know anyone. He was nobody,
Couldn't even speak Portuguese.
No, speak Portuguese. So it could be just, someone trying to pass on a scam and making some money, easy money. But I got you. So we are going to try to help you to see what we can do. But then soon after, once we said, okay, we are going to be working, we are going to work for you, there was this big scandal in São Paulo. And that person that this, the employee, the executive was in contact with was the center of the scandal. Because he was offering same sort of services, influences in other companies, right? So this became public. Our client name was not appearing at all, but the guy was there.
Right.
So we started working like crazy for and then that matter started investigation at city level, then went to state level, then went to federal level. So we had 2 years of intense work. A lot of work.
And right? what were you doing during those 2 years? What was the cleanup work? What was the nature of those?
Trying to anticipate. So this problem is municipal license problem. So in order to get municipal license, what are the regulations that would be implied to? What kind of people would be necessary to be involved in order to get license? So we start mapping the problem that was quite complex to see who are the potential people that would need to be involved in order to say that, there was some evidence is linking,
Yeah.
unwanted payment or illegal payment, right? So, or illegal advantage. So we start doing this also mapping up. And that time there was no email document review like today, right? So we don't have anything about
Right.
this kind of activities that we have now. So we are basically no interview at all because the company by that time was already in a full operation, and that allegation was related to the beginning of the operation. Those individuals that were not there anymore. So there was some, only the letter from the guy. So we worked for 2 years, and this became huge, but still the company was not involved. And I think we just work and kind of monitoring the situation for many, many years. And then when it was like a second year, I went to talk to my senior partner. I said, I was not partner yet. I said, there should be something out there that we should do in order to help this guy, this client who come to Brazil to invest, making an assessment. What kind of situation they're going to find when they go to a foreign country.
Yeah, what are the dynamics? What's the culture? How do you get things done?
What
pitfalls do you need to avoid?
Corruption is the problem. What kind of situation is more sensitive or not? How to deal with this kind of a business environment, if there is any business environment. And then nobody heard about, the Transparency International that we talk about nowadays, right? So
yeah, it was new. It was like a new thing.
Totally new. The only thing that we saw, the FCPA was in the SPA, stock purchase agreement. You'd have you have to comply with the FCPA, and nobody knew what this FCPA was about. I still remember the lawyer wouldn't care, and people would say, "Oh, this is U.S. stuff."
Sign it. It doesn't matter. Sign it. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Just sign it. We have to make this deal done,
Right.
And in the end, of course it matters because you are signing something that you are committing to something is still being the U.S. law. Right?
Yeah, right.
We saw the extension of the FCPA. So we start talking internally, and then the client, my senior partner said, Shin, there's something about compliance going on. There's some, you should learn more about compliance. It's not compliance that we know, which is related to the financial sector,
right.
Everything about regulation, but it's something more about value-driven, and there's some methodology. And for lawyers, it's very difficult to think in a rational manner, right? Just we are not engineers to say, okay, in the box, you have these tools and the structure. So we only know that the intent, end game is try to prevent the risk to materialize to have our clients being in trouble. So
right.
That was our beginning. And then can you believe it that my senior partner said, there is this association called Society of Corporate Compliance and Ethics that I heard about, and they are starting, and they had only 400 members.
Still
today we have
thousands or something. Yeah,
thousands of it. Yeah. So, and then Joe Murphy. I think that the society referred to me to Joe Murphy. And Joe actually was coming to Rio with his then girlfriend, to see, to do some tour in Rio. And that happened to be during the, Mick Jagger show that was completely sold out, no ticket at all to go from Sao Paulo to Rio. And I'm like, I have to see this guy.
Yeah.
I have to learn more about compliance and what he has to say. Because this is kind of a mission that I have to have,
Right.
If we can do something that we can offer to our client, that it is possible to go to risky areas and to be prepared, to mitigate such risk, that would be a great product to offer to our clients, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't know anything about the outcome. So finally I go to Rio. I got the last ticket to get to Rio. I meet Joe. And Joe, hi, Shin, hi. Joe, I just came here to learn more about compliance. What is this compliance is about? And we start talking and talk. I think I stayed there like 6 hours talking
Wow.
with him.
He's great, isn't he? I mean, that
Luckily,
guy, he's got so
his
much
fiancé was
knowledge.
still there. His girlfriend was still there. Didn't leave him.
Oh my
I was like,
gosh.
"Good."
Wow.
So after that, Joe asked me to come to SEC board meeting to learn more about what kind of activity we are doing. And the rest is a story. But I started I joined the board and I've been there since and on and off. And today I'm in the board. And then we are able, I think that Brazil is the number one country in terms of a membership outside of the US
Yeah,
now.
yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, so Brazil became huge because we realized that when we start talking about prevention and compliance program, we realized that many other had the same idea. They're looking for something like that. And we felt the same, right? So in order to voice out this new topic, I remember doing this list of to whom we should talk to. I should talk to say, you do Google compliance, nothing would come out. Today you do Google, oh my God, it's
Thousands of
a lot of
pages. Yeah.
services being offered by a lot
Yeah.
of third-party consultant. We are the best, etc., etc. But that time you don't find anything. So I started talking to my thinking was, well, if I want to do something that is non-existent yet, I have to start with the scholars. I have to start with talking to the professor, teacher, to see what are their vision about compliance. Whether what I'm talking, because my experience was coming arising from the practice, right? Because
Yeah,
I
you're just
was a
seeing problems and
compliance.
trying to solve problems and
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
figure out a
And
way
I
through
tried
it.
to say, okay, this is the way to go. So we went to talk to the teachers. We went to talk to more of the foreign associations such as
And
SEC.
and
Then
what
we had a
and what were you finding out during that discovery process? When you're
well,
talking
that
to
nobody
these,
cared.
nobody cared.
Nobody
Okay,
cared.
just sign it. Don't worry about it.
It's like I went to talk to prosecution office because prosecution office usually they have the following. They're very active in a public interest. So let's say you have some environmental problem. So they would settle with the company to say, look, company, you had this environmental problem. So let's do this term of conduct. Basically settlement to say what kind of thing companies should do in order to improve the internal controls in order to prevent such thing happening again, right? So they had some mechanism already. So I would go to talk to them and say, have you ever thought about including compliance program whenever you find a problem in the company to teach this company that they could implement compliance program so that such incident would not happen again
Yeah.
in various control. And they said, no, 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 I don't think this is case.
Really?
We don't, yeah.
That's crazy.
They're not relating the prevention with the compliance program.
And
First,
why do you
because
think that is? Because I'm shocked by that response.
Because I think this was 20 years ago, and compliance, first, we could not find a wording for compliance.
Yeah.
Because if you took compliance in Portuguese, it's conformidade, and conformidade could be seen as, because for those limited mind, I would say, they would say, you have to be conforming with the law, which is the obligation of everyone.
Yeah. That's not like a thing.
In our constitution say you have to abide by the law, but this is obligation, right? This is a mandatory for everyone.
Right.
You never say you don't need to comply with the law. Why there be the law?
There's nothing special there. Yeah.
Nothing special when you say compliance, and then we are using the compliance in English. So people would say, "Well, what is this? We don't really understand what is compliance." Right? And then so that was in late 1990, I think. People would not understand the meaning of compliance. So I went to talk to the Brazilian, very respected governance association. And I thought, well, compliance linked to governance.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to governance.
So you were just on this exploration. You were just kind of figuring it out. I mean, this is crazy.
How many people can join us?
Join
us in this journey that nobody would never thought or never heard of compliance. And then team of governance, so they say, Shane, we are still working on the culture of governance. I don't think compliance is compliance too early, I don't think this, I understand you,
Wow.
but does not really connect to governance. I'm like, of course it does. If you have a weak governance, there's no compliance.
Well, of
If you
course,
don't have a
right.
compliance, there's no, kind of work
Yeah, if you have
together.
compliance issues, that's rooted in a governance issue. To your point, it's the same thing.
Well, actually, 99% of the cases of investigation is weak governance, or if there is a good governance, people are the problem. Right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're stepping outside of the
Yeah,
bounds of the
just
governance.
or
Yeah.
lack of governance, or if there is a governance, the point is of people that exceeded their, understanding. But anyway, we can talk about that. So they said no, and then everyone would say that was surely. Finally, what happened was that we given an interview just like this.
Yeah.
Why there's a need for? There was one company that reached out to us with the interview,
Wow.
and this company was had a large dealership network, and then they want to make sure that all the dealer understand that they should not. How can I say? They should not try to take advantage of situation where there's no control. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they know, oh, this one, the
There's no
there's
control here.
no
You can do whatever you
control.
want. Yeah,
Yeah,
we want them to
yeah.
act
I'm going
right.
to take advantage.
Right.
Try to bypass such things. So he said he want to work together and try to map this up and make a better culture, etc., etc. And then we made the work. We delivered the work. After a couple of years, I came back to the work that we have delivered. I realized that was legal due diligence that we have delivered. Was not related to compliance, was a little bit, but was not something that we will do now,
Yeah.
because in
It
the
was
end, we are also lacking of a practice.
right.
So we
Well, it was
decided,
forming. You were figuring it out. You kind of
yeah,
didn't
we
know
are
what to
figuring it
serve
out.
yet
So
at your restaurant,
so
kind
in
of,
the end, I called them again to say, let us do the work again, kind of.
to fix it. Yeah, to clean this up. I would do this work a little different now knowing what I know
It's
now.
different now,
Yeah.
yeah. And then what happened was we realized that we had to stay close to the companies. So we created a forum of compliance officers because we started
Smart.
seeing that some companies had especially global companies, they already had compliance officers. They wouldn't understand what is the job they are because suddenly they're like, oh, now you are appointed as a compliance officer. They will call, Shin, what am I going to do
Yeah,
now?
what is
I'm a
compliance?
compliance
Yeah.
officer.
Right.
So we had two companies that joined that group. Today we have 120 companies.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's
And then
crazy.
and every time we go to talk about compliance, we'll take the code of conduct to really start discussing about the challenges, what kind of issues they face and how they can make better and what kind of a training work it out in one company, what did not because of the different sectors. So it was amazing. And this has been I think that the main source of inspiration, let's say,
Well, yeah.
to see how we deliver our work. And this has been phenomenal experience. Yeah.
Well, what I found in this space is it's a really unique space, right? Like if you were running, I don't know, like if you were running the marketing or the M&A practice, you probably wouldn't have an M&A forum where a bunch of different clients are getting together to share tactics about how to find a deal.
You can share experience, obviously.
Exactly.
You have some limits.
For sure, but I'm just saying.
I don't say there's no anti-competition,
Right.
Yeah,
Right. So that's a very
involved.
unique thing. And I've just found
Very
so much
unique.
in this space. It's very unique because the community, I mean, it sounds like the community in Brazil is just like what we have here in America, where people who care, who want to make their world better, are willing to share their advice and their
Totally, yeah.
tactics. And that's really where I see a lot of gains happening because, to your point, everyone's kind of off in their own companies trying to figure out the intersection of the regulation and the lived employee experience and how do we build a culture of integrity. And a lot of people are reinventing wheels. So when you can join forums like this, or you can join the SCCE and you can get around other practitioners, there's always so much learning that you can absorb.
Yeah.
When you think about the
And also they start, there was some forums like healthcare, I think the healthcare companies where they also have this meetup, in the associations, inside of association, and they produce like a list of company or list of association that ask for donation but had a problem, for instance. So they would know, kind of when they do the background check, they also sort of have some. Obviously, they do not name it among themselves, but they have some kind of a data center where they can also try to pull out more information. So I think there are a lot of things that you could definitely share, and sharing experiences in order to mitigate more, right? Looking to peers to see how you can improve your own compliance program. So this is very interesting area of compliance, definitely.
So when you think about the forum over the last 15 years or whatever, how have the conversations changed in that forum? How have, like, what is top of mind for people changed? What was it and what is it now?
Well, I think that Brazil, I always say that the Brazil has a very unique market because we have a lot of Brazilian professionals being exported outside of Brazil. There are many, you notice that many of the global compliance officers are Brazilians because those who started early, many of them are not in Brazil anymore. They are in different position, is much higher position because when we started doing this discussion of how we can train better, how we can make tone of talk more effective, all these seven, 7 elements, let's say, how each one of these elements we can do better, right? Then we had in Brazil something called this scandal called Lava Jato, or car wash operation, that was for many, many years known to be the biggest corruption scandal in Brazil.
And what was the nature of it?
In Latin America. The nature of it was basically, Brazil has this large oil producer called Petrobras, is a model company, public company in Brazil. And then it was found out through this, this investigation revealed that the director, the officers, right? Director is the board of directors, and you have the officers, right? The officers, one of the officers had this massive scheme that was taking bribe or part of the contract in order to grant the contract to certain companies. And when you say certain companies, was basically 90% of large construction companies in Brazil. So, just like a large group that had a construction business, they're all affected. So I still remember, I think it was March 2014, we see something that would never see on TV. All these billionaires that was known to be the biggest successful business people going to jail. All these federal police coming into their company, taking them, putting there on the
handcuffs,
handcuffed, and then going to taking jail. And in the same year, 2014, was when the Brazilian anti-corruption law entered into force, which basically bring a high penalty for the company offering, paying, promising to pay bribes. Until then, corruption only involved individual liability,
really?
Personal liability.
Interesting.
So company would not be liable.
Yeah, the company had no incentive to stop that from happening.
Yeah,
because they had a free safety net.
Who doing the wrongdoing,
the liabilities collapsed into the individual. So it's like, go ahead and get it.
This law together, this investigation
Totally.
coming together, involving largest companies in Brazil.
Wow.
Was totally crazy. And then the prosecution office that was trying to make a case against these large companies start using this law that was just coming out, right?
Wow, they used it hot off the presses.
And then the law provides that if you have a compliance program, you get benefit of reduction of penalty.
Wow.
If you do voluntary disclosure, you also have a reduction of penalty.
So that blew your business up.
And then whole business was, we had a certain point, we had 35 people in the team.
Wow.
And one case, we involved like 150 people in order to make the investigation. Was crazy.
Wow.
Crazy. You see, 2000, and this year, last year, we celebrate 10 years of anniversary of the law, anti-corruption law, but was published in August 2013, but came into force in January 2014, 13 to 14. So, and then this law being tested, right, immediately, because the prosecution office started using this law in order to investigate, pressure the companies that or allegedly being accused of wrongdoings involving all the top management.
Wow.
So imagine the whole market, there was lack of lawyers for you to have an idea.
Wow.
Because each individual involved had to have a lawyer. So you see I
What a
used to
crazy
joke,
time, huh? I mean, that was a crazy
crazy
time.
time. Can you believe that a criminal lawyer, talking about compliance program?
No.
And I'm like, criminal lawyer is to defend the interest of, this or that, and not to talk about how to prevent crimes,
Right. Right. He's working for the wrong
So,
team there.
so like you'd start seeing this. Everything was related to compliance. It was crazy to say criminal compliance, tax compliance, labor compliance. Everything that you have a compliance would be a big hit.
Wow.
So
It was like the new buzzword. Yeah.
so like calling attention. Okay, we do compliance here. Okay, what kind of compliance you do? No, we do everything. Tax compliance, labor compliance, whatever compliance. And then you see that many of the big law firms that would not carry this kind of practice group, because Tozzini was carrying the group because of that experience. We start
Yeah.
doing this, right? And then now, if you go online for many international firms, they have a compliance area.
Right. Right. It's pretty common now.
You see? So all this, I would go visit all the firms in Europe, all the firms in the US to talk about compliance. Many of the meetings that I would start, they would say, "What? I was hoping to talk about M&A,
Yeah, right.
foreign investment. What are you talking about? Compliance?" No, I'm talking about compliance because we may need you, you may need me, because depending on the investigation, you need someone in Brazil that understands how to conduct investigation.
Right.
So that's just how we started. Nobody would talk about, but nowadays become this huge market. And then when this scandal started, after 2, 3 years, because all the individuals and lawyers and some of the company had a business in the US, you start having it affected the US as well because of the Foreign Corruption Practices Act. Because they had either traded in the US, either they have stock or
Yeah, it's all
BRD,
connected,
all connected. And then in Europe, because some of the company also having business in the UK, you had a UK Bribery Act in 96, I think, right? And no, 2006 or 2004, but I may be mistaken the year, but sorry for that. And then you also have things happening in Switzerland, because a major case had some evidence in the Switzerland. So in Latin America, all these big construction companies would have a project in many countries of Latin America. And then when the company decides to do self-disclosure to settle, they would knock the door for the neighbor country. They would say, "We don't have law yet." So they had to run in order to approve the law in order to make possible the settlement. So this affected worldwide. Was totally. It was unique experience from 2014 and 2000, let's say, 2000 until like 2020. We still had a lot of things going on, and then start, spreading out. Because nowadays, this scandal is a lot of being questioned by the Supreme Court because the Brazil is very formalistic country. The procedure should have been better, complied with. And then because of lack of some of this requirement in order to exchange information or collect data, some evidence that were collected was declared null. So this has another impact it is legal impact, you know. For
Right.
instance, we had a case where this executive of this international company was held liable for based on these evidences that were used in Brazil in some of the settlement. If such evidences are considered new, now we are arguing in defense of this individual that, you know, if the evidence in origin was declared new, that evidence should not be used in the U.S., should not be used in everywhere. So there's another chapter of this, you know, things going on. It's crazy, but in the same time, I think for the compliance professionals, that so I was saying that we have a 300 plus certified professional by SEC. Imagine that the SEC come to Brazil every year for the São Paulo Academy, and all this academy is conducted in English, and then we are able to train, you know, 200 or 300, you know, hundreds of professionals being certified all in English.
Wow.
You see the sophistication of the market in Brazil.
Yeah.
You know, people are extremely well prepared in terms of understanding if the practice, right? Because when they get home, they have all this situation where should I supply to a company that's involved in Lava Jato, in this scandal? Because you don't need to do a background check. You just open the
Yeah, you just look at the newspaper, right?
Yeah.
That's your background
what
check,
do you do?
right?
Can you continue doing the business with them? What kind of mitigating factor you should apply?
Protect yourself with, yeah, right.
Yes, to protect. So these things all happening all together.
Mm-hmm.
So should I just stop the payment? So many companies, and they're more extreme, would just stop the payment. So imagine all these suppliers
Right.
suddenly
Just shut off the spigot.
didn't know what's going on and completely stopping the business. So because of this intensive practice, exercise of compliance, I think that there are many professionals that are really, really well prepared in Brazil because of this real situation. And then we also have, in addition to the academy conducted by SEC, we start having other similar Brazilian academies or association that also do the education. Mm-hmm. So I know that today this association can gather like 2,000 people every year in congresses.
Well, just
so it is very hot topic, let's say, you know.
Yeah.
It's very hot topic. And for us, it's so important to really voice out, to make sure that we are really making this profession, you know,
advancing the profession,
because there are so many professionals that are being created. Even the market has been created, you know. So we do need to reinforce the importance of the compliance for everyone, let's say, right?
Yeah.
So it has been very interesting, you know, experience.
Well, it's very unique to be involved. I mean, again, I'm a big fan of this industry because I just think it's so unique. It's very unique to be in an industry that's changing as much as it is, to be in this nascent stage, but still have all of this runway for more impact and more potential. Like if you think about, you know, obviously there's different quality of counsel out there, but like on the M&A side, there's not like massive innovations happening on how we contract for M&A.
You know AI is dominating everything. Although AI, you know,
AI for sure, and that's across everything. But that's almost like a side dish or an overlay onto something that's pre-existing and that has already sort of gone through a bunch of change and is kind of leveled off, right? Like, you know, reps and warranty insurance is maybe the only M&A
about the sustainability of everything, right?
Right.
Because you may have a great M&A.
Great point.
If you have overlooked the compliance topic, you know, the acquisition can just fail next time, you know?
Or the price you think you're buying that company for could be grossly understated because you didn't catch a compliance risk and diligence, and you have to clean that up, you know?
I have a couple of examples like that. So we start conducting a lot of so today, let me talk about today. We have 3 major areas. All right. First one is about internal investigation. Mm-hmm. So 70% our day-to-day is internal investigation, but more so about independent investigation. Why is that? The listed company, most or global company, they want to make sure they have impartial investigation.
Right.
To have a narrative, to have its position towards the investor, towards stakeholders, towards the shareholders, et cetera,
Right.
So we have this very active independent investigation where every time we do independent investigation, we have this list of recommendations that I'm very proud of, because all the recommendations related to governance, internal controls, and how to make your compliance program effective. It's
Great.
not only in the papers, right? So that's where we can extract from these findings of internal investigation. Should really show to the top management, the C-suite and also the board, where the company can enhance the existing tools in order to mitigate. So that's the area that I found very fascinating. That you can have investigation is not about pointing fingers.
Yeah, correct.
I want to know who did this.
Right.
It's not that, right? It's really like I try to see what are the weak points, where are the gaps, and you can try to fill it in and also try to make better. So
yeah, it's kind of like a puzzle, and you're kind of like a doctor. I mean, if you go to the doctor and you get your cholesterol taken, and they say your cholesterol is really high, the conversation doesn't end there. They say, hey, your cholesterol is really high. We need to do this about it. We need to fix it this way. We need to change your diet. Here's some medicine or whatever, right? So being able to close that loop is super satisfying because you're actually improving the company. You're improving the operations, and you're de-risking the platform that you're working with,
And nowadays, I think the large corporation, during the Lava Jato, whenever you talk about internal investigation, people get really scary, scared.
Oh, I'm sure,
my
yeah,
God,
because it was so big,
police is coming in, they are always they are associating that figure of internal investigation with the federal police coming to knock your door because of what was going on in the surrounding scenario.
Right.
And then you have this, the 30%, then we have a second pillar, which is more prevention side. We don't do any more compliance program because I think there are a lot of different tools to put the ground.
Yeah,
on the ground,
that base, that foundation.
The basic foundation, right? And then you can have a risk assessment, but still for that, you have some guideline you can do. So we do a lot of gap analysis, independent gap analysis, go in and talk to different stakeholders and try to map up where are the misunderstanding, miscommunication, etc. And then we have a due diligence for M&A. We were just
cool.
talking
Okay.
about. Yeah, M&A.
So those are the three kind of areas: investigations, gap
and
analysis.
then the last area that is growing a lot, interaction with the government. Because from the Lava Jato, we have many cases of settlement with the government involving cross-border transactions. For example, we have a settlement that was done in the U.S. and also was done in Mexico and in Brazil. We had a case where done. So we have this simultaneous negotiation going on, and we coordinate.
Oh, nice.
So that we had to we led a creation of an association called ASIL, which is Latin America Compliance Investigation League.
Oh, okay.
Because we got major law firms of Latin America started changing experience of how to best conduct internal investigation, how to address.
Coming up with a codified best practice.
Whatever.
Similar.
Best practices.
Yeah.
So that if the client comes to me, we can refer to different places in Latin America or vice versa. So we also know what to expect, because sometimes you don't have this kind of thing. It's very hard to work because the other guy do not understand what they're doing, and then the deliverable does not meet with what client expectations. So those kind of things can happen. So we create this LACIL that has been very successful to that end. So these are the basic pillars that we have. And then the background of these 5 partners, myself is M&A. I have another partner from M&A, one from the criminal criminal side because I also bring a lot of experience of criminal liability, and one is from the litigation because litigation is very interesting. You always try to see the other side, right? Because you're always fighting, you
Right.
anticipate whenever you do investigation or any policies they would do, we also have this impact. And then one is from that Marcelo Zenkner was 22 years prosecutor in Brazil, and then was a compliance officer at Petrobras.
Wow.
So we have this
You got a
different.
pretty cool team.
Yeah, it's a very diverse team that
Right.
bring together their experience. So coming back to M&A experience was interesting because during 2016, let's say, whenever you go to talk for the interview of compliance, the owner will say, so do you have any experience of being offered or offering to you or asking, promising, et cetera, of undue advantage? It's like, of course, this is the basic
We have it to everybody,
foundation of
yeah.
our how do you think that we can get big contracts from the government, you know? So we'll come back to make this, report. This is not a good idea, et cetera, et cetera. And then companies sometimes accept, the company put some clauses to settle or to reduce the price. Nowadays, nobody talk about it. If they
Right.
have something, they know, that they have
Yeah, yeah.
something they do not say as before. So meaning that culturally speaking,
It's shifting, yeah.
I think that all the business people became aware of the challenges, and then they should understand that compliance is a very, very important matter. And yesterday I was talking to this board member, a very famous association for sustainability of companies, large corporation, and she said to me, Shin, compliance is about strategy of the company. It should be seen as a strategic component.
Yeah,
of
it's a
any
strategic
management.
advantage if it's done right, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
any
I agree.
company. And
I
then
agree.
I really love to hear from the board member on that,
What made
So
her
I
say
think there
that,
are a
you
lot of
think?
things going on. Yeah.
Why did she say that, you think? Was it her background? Is it just from working with you? She could see the strategic opportunity
No,
there?
no. She's in the she's independent board member of many large corporation, and she said that that's her real understanding and learning after so many years
Yeah.
dealing with the board of many companies. So that's why I found very interesting to hear from her
Right.
because of her own experience. It's not like somebody selling compliance, but there's somebody that live in the companies, in the board, so she can feel definitely.
Yeah, and I think
that
that's a unique thing to hear from a board member, right? You don't hear that from every board member. But just the
Yeah.
fact that you're starting to hear that from board members, to me, is an indication that we are kind of stepping into this new
Oh
chapter.
yeah, definitely.
The next 10 years, I
Definitely.
think, are going to look way different than the last 10 years because more and more people like us are ascending to these positions of power. We see the opportunity that ethics and compliance can be in an organization to be that true strategic lever if it's done right and it's done in sort of a holistic way. And so I feel like that's going to be another kind of rising tide for our
Yeah.
entire industry and for professionals in it. And I just kind of am drawing a parallel here. Your organization is the number one compliance practice globally. And
Yeah.
that is due to a number of factors, right? One of them is you're on board. You have done a bunch, like you were fine to go and have those conversations with people before this was even a thing, before this industry even existed. And so when that law changed in 2014, you were already so well positioned to be able to like take advantage of that, right? So the market
Yeah.
circumstances changed, a regulation changed. There was this huge, increase in demand for this kind of stuff because we had to put compliance officers in and you were there, you and your team were there to take advantage of that because you had positioned yourself. And I think that same thing is a metaphor for what this next chapter is going to look like because right now, most all organizations have some kind of compliance thing in place, right? They have a code of conduct. They probably have some speak up thing. They've done investigations. Like this is a known thing. And we have this workforce now that actually cares about a culture of integrity, at least in the United States. I think it's probably true across the world. But they want to work for a company that's doing good and that they can put their gifts to work in and they can really be engaged in. And I think because we have this foundation laid sort of at large across the economy in many organizations, small tweaks to that are able to generate outsized results in terms of the employee experience, the level of de-risking that's available for that organization, the way to, I mean, we know that ethical companies outperform unethical companies or everybody else, right?
Yeah.
So when we can actualize and we can equip professionals that are in those spots, in those, chief compliance or officer positions in these various companies, we can really raise the level of integrity across our entire economy with some of these small tweaks by, again, getting back to what I was saying, sharing these techniques, sharing these viewpoints and perspectives. And I don't know, it's just kind of an exciting time. I mean, it really is a really exciting industry.
Yeah, definitely. To the point that this is a topic that really excites the young generation.
Right. It's true.
Because I know that many universities now are adding compliance as a subject.
Yep.
In how to say, not MBA, LLM program after graduation, graduate school.
Yep. Graduate program, right? Like
Yeah, graduate program, yeah. But because when I was a child, there were some classes that are taught to give more clarity on ethical behavior, moral behavior, and what is all these things about. And we don't have that anymore. The kids now, they are really, everything is so open,
right,
and so accepting and diverse, etc. So the limit of what can be respect towards the other, those things that you really need to enforce. And then companies should understand, first of all, what are your real culture? Everyone say culture of integrity. But culture of integrity, without really telling, this is why I understand the code of conduct as a constitution of any company. These are our frame.
Yeah, these are our, right. This is who we are. This is how we act. This is what we believe. Yeah.
So you say integrity, but if you have everything's about integrity, transparency. But if you have a board meeting where the president of the board starts saying, if you can achieve that, you are going to get this big bonus.
Right.
But nobody talk about what are the challenges to get there.
Right.
I don't want to know how you do that, but we have to do this. The message. What's wrong with this message?
Right.
I think those kind of small detail is very important to enhance and also strengthen that culture of integrity is about, making things right. Obviously, any company should have profit, but profit should not be at all cost.
Right.
So those kind of, and one thing that we are doing a lot, actually, so we have understanding that young generation, people are coming into the market. It's very important for them that this inclusion culture, culture of integrity, the transparency, etc. So for the board members, the work that we are spending more and more is try to have one-to-one meeting the board members to talk to them. It's like a 1-hour therapy session.
Yeah,
almost.
Totally. 100%.
Right?
Well, yeah, if you're not getting in front of these guys, you're not going to be able to influence them.
No.
You're not going to be able to help drive this culture that you're supposed to be an arbiter of,
You know what? There are more things. More senior they are, there are very few that pay attention to the code of conduct. Because they believe that code of conduct is the same every place that they are.
And they also believe that they've seen it all.
Yeah, they've seen it all. So they don't need to, take their time in order to look into. So I don't know whether you have noticed, and this is something that whenever I go to the training, I said, where is the CEO? He has to be here. Mm-hmm. Stay there. Only 1 hour. It's going to be fast.
Yeah, stay off your phone too. Pay attention.
Because otherwise they go there, they just leave after five minutes and they're making this huge presentation. So it is something that we've been seeing more and more. And it's interesting that when you are one-to-one with the board member, the questions that they make, because they don't, sometimes they they don't want to expose themselves,
Totally.
those
Yeah,
kind
right.
of basic questions.
They're supposed to be
Yeah.
the smartest people in the company.
Yeah, they should be.
They should be,
That's
but they
just like,
also, yeah, but
that's
there's,
why they've been hired.
right, right. But then what comes along with that sometimes is an insecurity to not want to show that you don't know everything,
Yeah.
which then leads
Yeah.
to a lot of
So that's just
assumptions.
something
And
that we are doing a lot nowadays. We are really like,
it's
taking
smart.
time with board members and explaining what's meaning of being listed company,
Right.
what's meaning of confidential information, those kind of thing that it seems very obvious and basic, but in my experience, I think help a lot, in terms of because sometimes, I mean, most of time actually, they do not intend to take advantage.
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't think,
Right?
yeah, I agree with you. Yep.
It's not intentional to, because, but what happened is that the lack of control actually, that really like expanding, create opportunities, right? Create opportunity in the
Right.
end of the day.
Right. Right.
So it has been very interesting, the change that we don't have a corruption anymore. Of course they do, but so the corruption cases have decreased, but we have a lot of cases of reinforcing the culture of integrity, how to assess such culture, and also helping the company's board to
Yeah.
understand, or to make more effective their role as a board members, because that's very important to understand what is your function, what is your duty, what are the duties of a board members and C-suite.
Right. Right. And I think, I don't know, there's just so much opportunity there, getting those board
Yeah.
members bought in to the
Definitely.
program. And, to the extent that one feels confident enough to instruct the board and tell the board what they need, they usually get it. I mean, the board has a fiduciary duty to do what's best for the shareholders and do what's best for the stakeholders of the organization, right? So many times, to what you were saying before, it's not because they don't care about it, it's because they don't know about it. And we have to
Yeah,
have those
definitely.
interaction points,
And then you say, oh man, they should know because they are in the board. Well, they may know because of their expert in engineering, for instance,
Right.
but they never been, taking time for them to explain, what are the duties of being board member, for instance,
Yeah, and I mean, this is a whole nother topic. We could probably talk for an hour about it, but each
Yeah.
board is its own little culture. And so there's different power
Oh.
dynamics on every board. The board is not a monolith.
Woohoo.
Your board is not a monolith. Boards are not a monolith. It's a bunch of just individuals. And you don't know what those power dynamics are. You don't know a person who maybe has an imposter syndrome, like because it's their first board and they want to speak up, but they don't. I mean, all of those things can be evaporated away and understood only through interaction and conversation. Because if you don't have those, then you're going to bring stereotypes to those conversations. And I think humans, we tend to think and should. Oh, they should know this. I'm not going to talk about it. Oh, they should already understand this. I'm not going to bore them. Well, you don't know if they actually understand it, and you don't know what those power dynamics are until you get in there. And once you can kind of understand those, and once you can understand what matters to these different individuals, well, then it's so much easier to talk about what you need from them or what your program needs in a way that resonates with them and is likely to give, going to prompt them to give you what you want. You know what I'm saying? But that can't come from reading a book. That's going to come from, to your point, getting in front of those people and building those relationships.
Yeah, but I was talking to a former prosecutor that she became the compliance officer, and I asked her what was the biggest challenge for her. She said, "Oh, because I used to be prosecutor, when I would join the board, everybody looked smarter than me,
Right.
and I was very quiet. I didn't know what to say,
Yep.
what to do. Then realized, well, but I've been paid here to say what I think, what I know." So
Right.
she started really talking a lot about compliance because that was why she was hired. And then after first, second time, that and now it's very easy to speak out.
But she had to go through that change, and she had to overcome that insecurity
Yeah,
or that
overcome
imposter
that,
syndrome.
we
Yeah.
minimize ourselves.
Totally. We all
We
do.
go to the board and, oh my God, these guys are board members.
I mean,
you know?
I have to fight against that myself when I talk to my board,
Yeah, Yeah, you
because I
see?
look up to them and I want them to be happy with the job that I'm doing. And, that's a natural feeling, but you have to try to get over it because we're all put in these positions for a reason. And whenever
Yeah.
our insecurities come in, they end up clogging up what we can provide, the value we can add.
I have a very interesting case. You also know that people we used to say, so if you are not in a high position at your level, you have to document everything, right? Document. So I'm doing this investigation where the risks have been identified by the lower level, and the lower level sent to the higher level, the management level, and the management level decide to do not consider, right? And then when we go and talk to them to say, so what you did? I'm like, and like, oh yeah, I did what I have to do. I documented. I sent to my superior. Okay, you did good. So that's what you have to do.
Right.
So what your superior did? My superior didn't do anything. So is there any set of ruling here that what you should do if you see that your superior didn't do anything, depend on the amount of risk, or you didn't even address that in some sort of committee meeting? No, we have not. And then I realized that that's so true because many companies do not have this governance very set.
Yeah, right.
So when
It's just done as it's done.
it's just done. It's
Right.
done. And then if you have one guy documenting that situation, that's it. That's enough to make
done.
liable you, make liable others, because he did right. But the point, if you ask someone to document, you have to say
gotta do
have to
something
have
with it, yeah.
proof about it. So it is very interesting. The
So
governance
interesting.
side. Yeah.
So funny though that like 20 years ago you had a conversation with a group about governance and they're like, this is not the same thing. This isn't even related. Isn't that funny?
No, not even. And then after a couple of years, they invite me to write compliance and governance, how to interconnect to this.
Wow,
as
interesting. Well, at least they recognize that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this conversation. I wish we could keep going.
Oh,
but
oh my God, I don't even know. I mean, just we've been here for 1 hour talking and talking. So
it's so cool.
Yeah.
It's great. It's been a lot of fun.
and because the subject matter is
Yeah, it's
something
an
very-
interesting topic,
Yeah.
especially just the history of it and how, you've been on this sort of,
we can set another time to talk about very interesting cases of the board and then board
I'd love that.
and management. It's just because behavior is not only about. Of course, you have the component of the culture, but you also have a component of culture of the companies and behavior of executives and manager and the employees. Is something that we can always talk about. And this is why I think that recently you see more people trying to understand more about behavior, human behavior, right? How you can try.
well, that's the whole game. That's the entire game we're in, right? We have a bunch of people in an organization who choose to show up there every day.
Yeah.
It's a voluntary collective. They just come because they want to, and we can't make them do anything despite the words we put on the rules on the wall or whatever. They have to want to do those things. And then if you layer on the level of risk intelligence that's within an organization and compare that to what actually shows up in their investigation management tool, there is like 10 to 20 times more pieces of risk intelligence out there than we're getting. And so we can't even do our job unless the human beings in the organization turn into human sensors and they feel part of the organization
Yes,
enough
sir.
and care enough to like raise their hand in spite of the risk of retribution to say, hey, something is wrong. So
Yes.
the whole game is behavior. The whole game is understanding how these human sensors work and how we can persuade them to be participants voluntarily in this risk management process that we've
if
built,
you look at the timesheet, how much of your time is dedicated to human relationship?
Probably not
Somebody
enough.
not understand well, you spend your time to think about how to report this or that, to not get too, compromised or too sensitive, whatever it is, so it is this behavior issue. And now with after pandemic, it just has been, I think that a lot of people being affected in terms of emotional stress.
Totally. Well, I
You
think
know?
people have like reshuffled what they care
Oh,
about. And so
yeah.
what they, to your point, they care about an organization that they can believe. They want to work for somewhere that's different than, the
Yeah.
toxic place that they just left. That's not a crazy thing. That's just the reality of it right now,
Somebody called me to start talking about some gossip. I like, please don't, I'm really focused on generating some stuff that I have to do now. If you tell me this, I'm going to be thinking,
Yeah.
oh, why it happened. So don't. Not today. Maybe next week we can have chat and have some coffee together. But if it's something that is bothering you a lot and it's not something that is about me, you tell me later. So it is crazy how much of our time we are diverting to the matters that is not helping us,
Yeah,
but
totally.
instead it's putting us more like. But anyway, this
That's
is
the
not
story of my life. So maybe maybe I need to talk to my
But
therapist about that one.
let me correct you. Maybe I said wrong. There is an international ranking of global ranking where in Brazil we are number one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Well,
not
that's still pretty good to me. It's still a gold medal in my book. But still, though, I mean, to your
Yeah.
point, it's something to be proud of.
Oh yeah, I'm very proud of it. And I think I'm more proud of our what we have achieved in terms of a compliance profession in Brazil.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
we are able to support the increased number of professional and also helping people understand the contribution that compliance can make in the market in order to be a better market for investors to come in, also other investors, any investment actually, right? And for the new generation coming in as well, because in the end, I think that we all want to work in an environment that everybody believes that compliance should be one of the basic pillar for the interest of the company.
Well, think about Brazil in the last 20 years. As you have
Yeah.
professionalized that country, right? And we've raised the sort of, I mean, there's
Yeah.
property rights, there's protections that allows an external party, an external investor to say,
Yeah,
okay, I
mhm.
feel fine putting my dollars into this company. That's happening at a macro level, and to your point, on a micro level, on an individual level, that same calculus is happening when they're choosing a
Same
job.
conversation. Yeah, sure.
That's the same thing,
Definitely.
and so it's mattering
That's
more
what
and
we
more.
are doing.
That's
We are
right.
putting out there this kind of experience to people to listen to and then to understand that, you have to be moved by your heart. That is everything's about mission, right? I think that the purpose, you have to have a purpose. And my
Yeah.
purpose was to create something that will make sense for me and then totally makes sense for others and my partners. And I think in the end, you also aggregate people that are the same end,
Yeah.
towards the same purpose. Yeah.
Have the same purpose, have the same kind of a drive, have the same vision
Yeah.
for what the world should
Yeah.
look like.
Yeah.
Man, well, this was really a lot of fun. Shin, where can people find you? At the beach. I want the address of the beach house. I'm
I'm
just
in the
kidding.
beach now. I don't know. Well, I can give my email.
Okay,
Maybe.
cool,
But
yeah.
it's too difficult. I'm going to send you later.
Okay,
something
that's
that I
fine.
don't
So I'm going to tell people to find you
Yeah.
on LinkedIn or just wander a beach in
Yeah,
Brazil
my
and maybe they'll
LinkedIn.
see
Yeah,
you.
you can be my LinkedIn, Shin Jae Kim.
Cool, very
I'll be
good.
there.
Well, this was great.
Yeah.
I love talking to people like
Thank
you
you.
that have made
Thank
such
you.
an
It was really nice to go back again to talk about
Yeah.
compliance. And we do feel that we can still believe in compliance. We should, because compliance is not going to, be disappearing.
Right.
Because again, we have a wonderful compliance structure, but who manage this are people,
Right.
the human behavior, human conduct. So this is where we have to also look very closely
That's
and
right.
help us to do better and better.
I love it. Well, I
Okay.
will thank you so much for joining us on the Ethics Experts.
Thank you.
We will see you
Thank you.
soon.
So thank you and good luck. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.